Good morning, second week of Easter, and we read the Gospel of John. On the evening of that first day of the week, when the disciples were together with the doors locked for the fear of the Jewish leaders, Jesus came and stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." After he said this, he showed them his hands and side. The disciples were overjoyed when they saw the Lord. Again, Jesus said, "Peace be with you. As the Father has sent me, I am sending you." And with that, he breathed on them and said, "Receive the Holy Spirit. If you forgive anyone's sins, their sins are forgiven. If you don't forgive them, they are not forgiven." Now, Thomas, also known as Didymus, one of the 12, was not with the disciples when Jesus came. So the other disciples told him, "We have seen the Lord." But he said to them, "Unless I see the nail marks in his hands, and put my finger where the nails were, and put my hand into his side, I will not believe." A week later, his disciples were in the house again, and Thomas was with them. Though the doors were locked, Jesus came and stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." Then he said to Thomas, "Put your finger here, see my hands. Reach out your hand and put it into my side. Stop doubting and believe." Thomas said to him, "My Lord and my God." Then Jesus told him, "Because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed." The Apostle Thomas, nicknamed the Doubter by Jesus himself, embodies the difficulty that we all feel in believing in the event of the resurrection of Jesus. To think that Christ is risen is so far beyond all logic that only the experience of a personal and real encounter with the risen one can bring about a change of heart. Accepting the resurrection is not a conclusion that one reaches after a logical reasoning. I believe that there are only two alternatives. Either it is an unsuspected personal encounter, as in the case of the apostles, or it's a jump of faith, as it is for us. Hence the phrase of Jesus to Thomas, "Blessed are those who have not seen and have believed." Today I want to share a current example of what this jump of faith implies on the lips of someone who doesn't speak from victory, but from pain and mourning, believing without having seen. Francesc Torralba is a university professor, Spanish intellectual. He has more than 4 doctorates: Doctor of Philosophy, Doctor of Theology, Doctor of Pedagogy, and Doctor of Art History. If before I already admired this man for his wisdom and his communicative skills, now I appreciate him even more for his testimony, for his painful and at the same time pastoral testimony. On August 14th, 2023, he went out with his son, Oriol, 26 years old, on a hike through the Picos of Europa, in the northern part of Spain. On this hike, Oriol lost his life when he accidentally fell into the void. Francesc explains that in an interview. It was a 30-kilometer circular hike, the star hike of the summer. Oriol was the one who planned it. It was on small, narrow trails, but the route was not risky. The problem was that we got lost on the way back. In addition, the GPS wasn't working, there was no signal. In that moment of uncertainty, he became anxious. He felt responsible. We started to look for the right path with erratic movements up and down. At some point, he went around a small curve with no apparent risk, and that's when I heard a very loud bang. At our feet, below us, was the Cares River. After several hours waiting for rescue, the bad news were confirmed. Oriol had died from the fall, and Francesc, the father, had to phone his wife, Oriol's mother, to tell her the sad news. The death of a beloved one is tragic. Why? Francesc explains it in these words. The human being is unique. He cannot be replaced by anyone. An object can be replaced. You can replace a telephone, you can replace a car, you can replace a piece of furniture, you can replace a house. But a human being, you cannot replace it. The human being is the irreplaceable one by definition. The idea that never again you will be able to establish a dialogue with him can generate despair. And without faith, what's the antidote to despair? There might be some substitutes. Remembrance, stoic resignation, evoking his memory every now and then, but the only news that can somehow compensate for the radical absence which death implies is the confidence in a final encounter. The 19th century Danish existentialist philosopher Søren Kierkegaard said that faith is the only antidote to despair. For Francesc Torralba, the only thing that somehow gives him hope is faith in a final reunion. Theologically, it's based on the resurrection of Christ and on the fact that for God, everything is possible. Faith is not a logical conclusion, a conquest of the mind, but a free gift from God. Just as Jesus bursts into the cenacle when the doors were closed, enters where there was no access, the gift of faith bursts into our closed souls where the idea that death has the last word dominates. An event such as the death of a beloved one makes everything shake. Everything gets messed up: sleep, hunger, beliefs too. Some people drift into a rebellious atheism, radical denial of the existence of God, and this is completely understandable, comprehensible. But there is also another possibility: to put in crisis our mental representation of God and to realize that God transcends us, that He goes far beyond our mind, and thus, without ignoring the pain, you can find a source of peace. Torralba says, because such a thing, the death of a beloved one, cannot be overcome, I speak of acceptance, not of overcoming. I think that this last word, overcoming, is not the most suitable for this situation. I still have faith, yes, but what do I ask for in prayer when the event has already happened? To have inner strength to be able to assume it, to maintain serenity, and to rebuild my life. Faith also helps to think of a final reunion, a final encounter with my son. This final reunion would be impossible if Jesus had not risen. Deceased beloved ones who are with God no longer have faith. They don't need it. They don't have faith because they already have knowledge of God. We, those of us who are in this ephemeral path of our existence, do need faith. Therefore, happy are those who have not seen and yet have believed. And God bless you.